This is a story we're very proud to bring to you. Not just because, as the Sydney Morning Herald said, it's one of the great scoops of journalism, but because of its result. After months and months of tense, exhaustive work, 60 Minutes this week trapped Australia's most wanted paedophile, Robert Dolly Dunn, the former New South Wales teacher wanted on 91 child sex charges. Dunn had been on the run from police for 2 years until we learned he was in Central America, tracked him down, lured him to a rendezvous, then handed him over to police. Tonight, as he sits in a Miami jail awaiting extradition to Australia, we bring you the gripping story of how Robert Dolly Dunn was run to ground. Mr. Dunn, are you a paedophile? Mr. Dunn? Mr. Dunn, many people in Australia have seen videotapes of you preying on young children. This was a moment 6 months in the making. Robert Dolly Dunn tracked down in Honduras. Shaken and still looking for escape, he's minutes away from being arrested.
So far, so good.
Mr. Dunn, how long are you going to keep running for?
Undaunted, Dolly has brought her binoculars. Ever ready on the search. No, it doesn't look too bad, Doll. There's one on the rock.
Dunn's life on the run began as these videos, and others far more explicit, were being tendered to the Wood Royal Commission in 1995. He fled first to Lombok in Indonesia, a well-known pedophile haunt where locals said he molested their children.
Very, very bad, man.
Why?
Well, because he did it here with our Indonesians.
But a botched newspaper investigation tipped Dunn off. He fled yet again, just ahead of the Australian police. That was April last year. The trail went cold. There was speculation Dunn was in Europe, but no solid evidence. Then 60 Minutes producer Steve Barrett received a tip. Dunn might be in Honduras in Central America. Might be. Steve Barrett worked the case in Sydney, establishing that Dunn had used his passport in Honduras last October, and with his passport due to expire, he might still be in that country.
You might check the hospitals, check the bars.
Our Miami-based producer, Melanie Morningstar, an expatriate Australian who is fluent in Spanish, was immediately sent to Honduras.
I mean, I was travelling on those tiny little bluebird buses from the tiny little towns one to another, and I looked like everybody else. Well, albeit 10 years older than everybody else, but I look like everybody else.
The search was daunting, to find one man in a country of 5.5 million people. The hunt for Robert Dunn would take Melanie Morningstar on a tortuous journey through the cities, towns and villages of Honduras and neighbouring Guatemala. And all of these places, were they the sorts of communities which would attract somebody like Robert Dunn?
Absolutely, absolutely. They're all places that had poor kids. Some of these towns were 1,000 people, 500 people, 2,000 people. You know, if you're, well, they don't know the difference between an Australian and an American, and you're a gringo, and the question is, are there any gringos here? And the answer is either yes or no. It's as simple as that, you know, and if the answer was no, on I moved.
Then the two trails converged at last. After crisscrossing the country, Morningstar hit the tiny border town of Copan. Dunn had been there only a month and a half before, running this restaurant.
That's when I knew I had him. That's when I knew I was like 6 weeks behind him.
Dunn had apparently used the restaurant as a front for meeting children.
He had a succession of young boys in there that he would fire after a week and hire more and more and more. They only lasted a week and then they left.
The people are so warm and trusting that they're sitting ducks.
This man knew Dunn when he was in Copan and was deeply suspicious of his activities.
And they had at least 10 to 12 young boys working for them in close proximity continually.
With a contact from Copan, Morningstar travelled back to the Honduran capital. where her contact believed Dunn was living.
I had to see him to be absolutely sure it was him before I called in the cavalry. So we set up a sting, a story, a sort of phony real estate deal.
It was the first positive sighting of Dunn in 18 months, and Morningstar recorded it on video. How did you feel when you finally saw him? This man you've been chasing around Honduras.
I couldn't believe it. A chill went from my head to my toe. I was thrilled. I was elated. I wanted to run to the table and punch his head in. It was so exciting for me, and I knew that I had done what I had set out to do.
And the elation?
Oh, it was incredible. I was able to get on the phone to 60 Minutes and say, you know, I've got him, I've absolutely got him.
The video footage was sent by satellite to Sydney, where we met with New South Wales police officers from the Child Protection Enforcement Agency. It was done without a doubt. Now begins the most delicate part of the entire investigation. Working closely with New South Wales and Federal Police, we've come here to Tegucigalpa to set in place the means by which Dunn can be arrested. If you weren't on the run, Tegucigalpa would hardly be high on your list of choice destinations. It's crowded, hot and squalid. For Dunn and men like him, the attraction is children. In this poverty-struck place, they can be bought for a few dollars. And Honduran police are in no hurry to arrest the foreigners who prey on them. Honduras has never formally extradited a criminal. It's Friday night, and Honduran police have finally agreed to pick Dunn up. But Dunn is out of town. He's promised our contact he'll be back on Monday. But I can promise you, the wait over the weekend is going to be one of the longest of our lives. Monday morning, and we still don't know whether Dunn will turn up. If he does, our plan is to lure him to a hotel room. He's low on money and desperate to strike a deal with our contact.
No, there's no ice. Do you want ice?
Not necessarily, no.
What do you want, Scott? You want to shave us or something?
Yeah, Scotch and water would be fine.
As arranged, he turns up at midday. We make a phone call telling our contact to leave the room.
Hello?
Then it is time for us to tell Dunn that his time is up.
Okay. I gotta go down to the lobby bar.
Okay.
So I'll be right back.
Robert Dunn? I'm Elizabeth Hayes. You realise you're wanted in Australia?
No.
There are 91 warrants out for your arrest. You're not aware of that?
No.
What are you doing here in Honduras?
Talking to you.
But are you not wanted in Australia?
Not that I know of, excuse me.
There are 91 warrants out for your arrest,
all right,
Mr. Dunn.
All right, you said it.
Mr. Dunn, are you a pedophile? Mr. Dunn? Many people in Australia have seen videotapes of you preying on young children. The New South Wales Royal Commission has in fact labelled those tapes as evil. What do you have to say to that?
Nothing.
We of course have seen other tapes of you involved in having sex with young boys.
So far, so good.
Dunn leaves the room, and now it's the turn of the police to spring their trap.
You have any else?
You've been on the run for a long time now, haven't you? Mr. Dunn, do you not have any conscience?
Young immigration officer, you need to follow me to my office.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Wait.
The big question now is, what will Honduran authorities do with him? The most likely scenario is that he'll be deported to America, where Australian police have arranged for him to be held and extradited. The authorities have their man, and I return to Australia to file our story, leaving producer Steve Barrett to cover any late developments. But while I'm flying out, the world's press is flying in. trying to get a word with Australia's most wanted man.
I'm going to translate what he's going to read you. He'll read it in Spanish, and I will tell you this. This is going to be it's the order of expulsion.
He's got nowhere left to run and is not in the mood to talk. Then, just as he's about to be deported, he amazingly decides to open up to us, the very people who tracked him down.
So you're saying that the Royal Commission and the police had all these tapes, let's be fair about it, they're pornographic tapes of young boys.
Yeah.
So you don't deny the pedophilia?
No, definitely not. Remember, I testified against police, and in doing so, I had to declare myself. They knew about me, Steve, back in 1989. They found all these things.
It was a strange conversation, almost a confession.
How does that term affect you when I ask you, or when any person asks you that you're a pedophile? Are you a pedophile? How does that affect you?
It doesn't worry me, because I know that what you're saying is really, you're really asking me if I'm a boy lover. You're not differentiating. That's the whole point.
And are you?
A boy lover, yes, I've already admitted it.
What age is your limit?
Top of the scale, I would say about 16, 17.
And the other end of the scale, the youngest?
I wouldn't go any younger than 14, 13, 14.
Why did you take videos?
I don't know.
What, was it a way to make money? Just to...
Oh, no.
Okay, well, why did you take the videos?
I suppose to relive the event. People have wedding photographs, don't they? Baby photographs, just to remember what happened. And I suppose that's my thing.
What happens to these boys when they get older?
I would hope nothing adverse.
You say you've never destroyed any young lives?
Look, how can anybody say they've never destroyed a young life? Even as a teacher, without any area of pedophilia, as you like to call it, or boy loving, a teacher can destroy a young life by accusing somebody wrongly of cheating, by being hard on the person wrongly. An interviewer can destroy a person. So can a doctor. So I'm not going to say that I have not destroyed anybody, no. I hope I have destroyed none. That's all I can hope.
How widespread is boy loving or pedophilia, whatever, I'll use your term, how widespread is this practice in Australia?
They're usually small groups where usually the contact is made through the boy. You meet somebody else as a result of meeting a boy.
So you don't force the boys?
What's the use of that? If you were having sex with somebody, would you want to force them?
Yeah, but do you manipulate them? Do you con them?
Well, do you when you have sex? I think part of manipulation is part of sex.
But whether they're male or female, they're juveniles. They're very young minds.
Well, some of them are very astute, though, aren't they?
But they're still children.
Here again, we're getting into the philosophy side of it, and I don't know. I just can't answer that question, which I started off by telling you.
So you don't feel any guilt whatsoever?
Yes, I feel a degree of guilt, yes.
In what way?
In the way that I have disappointed a lot of people who had trust in me, my friends, my family, by not, I suppose, seeking the right treatment when I should have. Yes, I do feel guilt.
It is the end of a long journey for 60 Minutes and an even longer journey for Dunn and the New South Wales and Federal Police. But now, as Australia heard 4 days ago, Dunn is incarcerated in Miami. He will be extradited. He will face justice in Australia. It is, in all likelihood, the final chapter in the dark and twisted life of Robert Dolly Dunn.
How old are you now, Robert?
Oh, 56.
You got a heart condition?
See, 3 heart attacks.
Do you think you'll ever get out of jail?
Who knows?